Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wishbone Football. I am Chad, and welcome into episode 1.11, my SEC spring meetings episode. Before we kind of dive into everything that has sort of taken place over the last couple of days here, this is not the episode I was ready to roll on. I was ready to roll out some sort of a win projection for the AFC and the NFC over this week and next week, sort of like what I did with the SEC last week on episode 10. And it got exploded all today and yesterday, I should say. A lot of things that have taken place over the last 48 to 72 hours that I think are the tops of minds for a lot of college football fans. And not even just college football fans, but football fans in general. This is sort of some groundbreaking stuff that could be taking place. I mean, I think we're sort of beyond the point of groundbreaking now. We are now to the point where every step that each of us make and every step that each conference or every team makes is new territory that we have never been in before. And the first thing on my docket today is to talk about a bipartisan bill that was brought to the House today. And I mean, I never thought that this is where we would end up with college football. I know the lawsuits, where we've ended up with NIL and how we've sort of evolved or de-evolved to get here might be an interesting piece. But when it comes down to it, I mean, we're at the cusp of calling college football a professional league, and I honestly think that we're a bipartisan bill away from that even taking place. I mean, we've got a senator from Washington and we have a senator from Texas coming together, both of them on either sides of the aisle, coming together to try and put some sort of a framework in place for what is going on in the unpredictable world of college football right now, or college sports in general, you can say. Of course, it's outside of football. It's in basketball. It's in swimming. It's in golf. It's everywhere you want it to be. And now schools are feeling the pinch of trying to field the best that they can with also still trying to compete in the NIL world. And there are going to be holes that we sort of develop through as we move through this process with NIL and media rights deals and who friggin' plays primetime football games in the first 3 goddamn weeks of the year. Arkansas. That's on my list, though. Later on, we will get to that because I am so excited to read that statement. And it's kind of funny. I mean, I have 2 statements to read, if you can believe it, in tonight's episode. So let's dive into the first one here. I mentioned it already. The bipartisan bill that was presented yesterday or today in the House, and it is the Protect College Sports Act. And a little bit about this. The legislation lays out only a few things, but mainly there's only the ability to transfer once. It only provides a 5-year eligibility. It bans professional players, which honestly, in the year 2026, I can't believe that we're having to even talk about at this point. Talking about professional G League players are now going to join LSU at the basketball team. Like, come on, what are we doing here? They would implement a hard cap on how much is able to be spent on each sport outside of what can be generated through private funding like NIL. There would be a max percentage of 5% for agency fees. And let me stop there. I think that could be something that I get into. I think that would be kind of exciting. I think I should move down to somewhere between Texas and Tennessee and open my own company that I am providing deals to and being an agent for. I think that would be kind of cool. But moving on, the next one is a Lane Kiffin rule. I wanted to pause for a dramatic effect. Lane Kiffin. Who's that, you might ask? So the Lane Kiffin rule would be in the event that another team is looking to hire you, it would not be able to take place until postseason. So we don't have this Ole Miss to LSU BS where he is leaving Ole Miss the end of the regular season to go to LSU only to see his Ole Miss team that he built and was coaching continue on to in the college football playoff. It would prohibit a super league, which honestly, I think were one joint statement between the Big Ten and the SEC away from happening. I think you could probably trim a bit of fat out of both conferences, football-wise, and basically create your own professional football league with 40 teams, 35 teams. Have your own college football playoff every year. And that would be cool. Honestly, I know that would be so far removed from where this all began, but I mean, we're on the precipice of it. We're on the cusp of all of this taking place. And then the last thing on this bipartisan deal that I wanted to mention is the optional pooling of TV rights. Yeah, that is a scary one. And the reason that is a scary one, because they specifically put that as long as at least 75% of the FBS agree with such a measure, that they would move forward with it. However, the SEC and Big Ten are making absolutely huge money. I mean, look at what I talked about this last week and what the payout was for the Big Ten last year. I if memory serves me correctly, we're we were looking at something in the neighborhood of $1.3 billion in 2025 that they distributed. Like, that's a lot of money. That is absolutely just crazy money. And that's not even what the SEC was yet. That's like we're not there in what they've announced that they're doing, because the SEC is still in a media deal that is going to be renewing soon. And that leads me to my next piece that I wanted to talk about. And that is the SEC statement that they put out today. The Southeastern Conference recognizes and appreciates the many ongoing discussions regarding potential system-wide improvements to ensure the future success of college athletics. The SEC has been intentional through years of thoughtful planning and decision-making in strategically positioning itself for future immediate negotiations. The conference must retain the ability to act in the best interests of its membership. As such, the SEC does not support assigning its media rights to a third party and remains firmly committed to independently conducting its media negotiations. End quote. What do you think? They're not wrong. If we're having to have a media rights deal that includes the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the MAC, the SWAC, there's so much money that should be poured into the SEC that it's going to be diluted. It is a slippery slope when you start to generalize and combining multiple conferences or even multiple parts of the country into specific media rights deals. It's not how these were set up to take place. And I honestly am not a fan of what they're trying to do. Now, I do want to go back to the wording of the bipartisan bill. It is optional. But the SEC already sees the slippery slope that it can go down. They are honestly to a point where they could say, well, there's already some bipartisan support for this. So why don't we move forward with what they are going to be doing next? And that would maybe legislation that would restrict the SEC from having a meeting with ESPN and ABC saying, hey, media rights deals are up in 2029. We are looking at wanting $1 billion a year to show and promote SEC football. And they very well could be getting that. But at what expense? Are they having to do some sort of combination with other conferences as we move forward into this? But staying on the subject of SEC football, there is a second statement that I am so incredibly excited to talk about. So incredibly excited. And this statement is coming from out of Arkansas, if you can believe it. Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics. His name is Hunter Yurachek. I am extremely concerned and displeased about the recently released kickoff times for our football program in consecutive weeks this September and the impact it will have on the well-being of our student athletes. I'm going to stop us here, and I want to interject with student athletes. We're close, right? We're very close to just kind of calling them free agents, right? We saw that progression this year with the transfer portal. They were being signed, and it wasn't, I am committing. No, I am being signed to the University of Texas, or I am being signed to the LSU Tigers. So anyway, let's continue on here. ESPN has set our game at Utah for 9:15 Central Time on September the 12th. We anticipate returning to campus at approximately 6 a.m. on Sunday, September 13th, followed by an 11 a.m. home kickoff against Georgia just 6 days later on September 19th. This assigned schedule will cost our student athletes nearly a full day of rest and recovery that they would otherwise have available to them. This is not simply a competitive disadvantage. It is a genuine welfare issue for the young men who represent our program and contribute greatly to the bottom line of our television partners. This type of scheduling is unacceptable and demonstrates a clear neglect for the well-being of college athletes. I'm confident that there are not many other programs in the SEC that would be placed in a similar position, and I will not quietly accept it from our program. I have formally requested that the SEC office and ESPN aggressively pursue an alternative solution for one or both kickoff times during these consecutive weeks. The focus must be on the well-being of the game's participants, not the bottom line of our media partner. What do you think? This is wild stuff, where we have devolved and evolved into. I want to say a line I used in a tweet earlier, and anyone following me on Twitter, Wishbone FB, get over yourselves. Are you kidding me with this garbage? You are a football team. You're playing Saturday night and you're complaining about getting home late Sunday and then playing again Saturday morning? Are you kidding me? You are getting these boys ready to be professional football players. That is the goal. The goal is for you to be playing Sunday at 1 o'clock for one of the 32 NFL teams. Do you understand that, Hunter Yurachek? Your views on this schedule are lost. You are so far out to lunch on what is going on. You are playing a 9:15 Central game. That is a primetime game. How do you not understand that, Hunter? That is a primetime Eastern Conference game, week 2 in the season. You need to get over this. Oh, we're not getting back until 6 a.m. on Sunday. Who cares? You're not practicing Sunday. We know that. You are spending the entire day recovering. Your guys will be in the cold tubs and in the sauna that day, recovering as they should, as they would have done if you would have played at 1 o'clock on Saturday as well. He is out of touch with what is going on. That is absolutely an atrocious statement to make. And the worst part is, he made this statement 20 minutes. It's like he knew ahead of time what the schedule was because he is director of athletics at Arkansas. And he had this crafted already, which is the worst part. Everything gets released. 20 minutes later, he is tweeting out this statement. It's pathetic, is what it is. Arkansas, Hunter Yurachek, you are lucky to be winning 2 or 3 games this year. This is, you do not have pull in the SEC. Do you understand that? If the SEC wanted to and could, they would replace you. Honestly, if they felt that they were moving in the direction of a super league, Arkansas would be cut. I firmly believe that. I'm just taking a look at my SEC projections for the 2026 season. I have Arkansas winning 4 games. And I will stand by that. So when you are winning 4 games, or maybe it's 5, you should not be looking for exciting things like this. You should be happy with what you are getting. 9:15 Central on a Saturday is a primetime game. You need to understand that. The SEC and ESPN are doing you a favor by putting you in a late primetime game early in the season so that you are not flexed out of primetime games later in the season. Do you understand that? Because if you come out of the gate and you're 2-4 and you're sitting at a 7:30 game in week 10 of the season, you know what ESPN and ABC are going to be doing? They're going to be looking for a different game to be putting in that. Because you are a mediocre football team that should not be playing a week 10 primetime game. So think about that the next time that you're whining about what your schedule looks like in week 2 of the season and you're playing a primetime game. I don't get it. I honestly do not get it. All right, let's get back on track here. When we thought about how the transfer portal was going to work, did the College Sports Commission or the NCAA or any football fan, player, coach find the obvious issue with this? No. Because a massive loophole was just opened up today inside of the transfer portal. And in case you do not know about what I am talking about, his name is Carson Gordon. And this man is a quarterback at UCLA. And he just entered the transfer portal today. I thought I'd give you some time to let that build and really let it sink in. A UCLA quarterback named Carson Gordon is going to be entering the transfer portal. And do we know why? This when I read this, and the 3.3 million other people who read this, I don't know how they have not blown a top. So Gordon is entering the transfer portal as a track athlete. Boom. That is the sound of a bomb going off. He is entering the transfer portal in the window in which track athletes can, but he is a dual sport student athlete, I will say, and is still going to be playing football. Yeah. I'm trying to find the words on how this is a hole that needs to be sewn up quickly, because I don't think this is ever going to be. This was never supposed to be something that we saw. College Sports Only, this incredible Twitter account that I follow, posted a meme of a piece of rope. And what it is, it's a piece of rope that is wrapped in a circle. And one arrow points to a loop and the other arrow points to the hole. And that's what it is. This is a funny gag where this student athlete, I will continue to call them, has found a loophole to be able to transfer because he is a dual sport athlete, but he is able to transfer out of UCLA in the track window, in the track athlete window. Now, it's still early. This was announced earlier today by Pete Nakos. So I would expect some sort of clarity to come from the NCAA on this matter specifically. But I mean, it's sort of wild to think about that in this age that we're living in with NIL and everything that's going on, we're still able to be shocked every time, if that makes sense. We're still able to kind of be slapped in the face with something new, something incredible that can still happen. That's still another step forward of what's going on and how we feel about it. And it's incredible every single time. And this is just another one of those steps forward to, I don't know, a super football league, or just stop calling them student athletes, and maybe they need to start paying for their tuition now. Maybe instead of us paying us, using that term loosely, but donors to universities, which I am a donor to a university, instead of donors paying them to come to their school for NIL, maybe we say, okay, well, like, here's $100,000 for NIL, but you owe 85 of it to us back for tuition, school supplies, and housing. And that's probably where this will be. And I mean, it's already taxed, so like, why not that be the next logical step? Now, a neological step was taken today, and that was with honestly, my second favorite football conference, and that is the MAC. The MAC did a funny thing today, and they rebranded, if you can believe it. And when I say the MAC, I mean the MAAC. And what they have done is they have rebranded to what is now known as the Metro Conference. And they will be doing this for everything other than football. I want to make sure that's clear. And I don't know, I actually kind of like the logo. You'll have to see. I'll tweet out a picture of it tonight when I'm done putting this out. But I do sort of like it. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and the new Metro Conference coming to your televisions maybe in the near future. And finally, we are landing on two. I'm going to finish off with two things that I will say are mind blowing, but they really can't be mind blowing, because, like I just said, like we continue to find this new level in what we're doing and how we're operating in college football and college athletics, that we're always finding a new tier. So I don't know if everyone has heard it, but the SEC has decided, collectively, I should say, that they are going to eliminate their cupcake weekend. And for some of you who don't know what that is, Cupcake Weekend is the second last weekend of the year. It's always usually the weekend before Thanksgiving, and it is where you are able to schedule a non-conference game if you're in the SEC, but it's usually a rivalry game. Like, to give you an example, it's this year, Texas and Texas Tech are scheduled, I believe, to play that weekend. And no, not this year. Anyway, so the statement that Steve Sarkisian, head coach of Texas Longhorns, came out and said was, we would be able to, it was basically a feud between Big 12 and the SEC and how Texas jumped ship. But what the expectation is, that Sark said, is that we would be able to go back to the Big 12 and win it with our twos and threes, meaning like their second and third string guys. Texas Tech obviously took offense to that I mean, they want to be the number one team in Texas, and they have to take down God in Texas, and that is the Longhorns. I don't think there's any arguing that. But Joey McGuire, which is the head coach of Texas Tech, said he is offering to play Texas on September the 5th, which would be week 1 this year. And then said, regarding their season openers, McGuire says Tech would buy out ACU, and Texas has the money to buy out Texas State, which is who each school is projected to play. I think it's incredible. If there is any sort of even a sniff at this getting done, that all of a sudden we sit here May 28th and Texas and Texas Tech are just in a pissing match, ready to go at each other, and they are buying teams out, telling those teams to probably play each other week 1 of the season so that they can have a tit for tat in week 1 of the season. I mean, sign me up to watch that, because I would be absolutely glued to the TV. However, I do have a wedding that night, so I would prefer not to. And I think my wife would prefer not to watch me stare at my phone for the entire duration of the wedding. But that's what you get. That's what you get for getting married in the fall. Don't do it. Get married in the dead of the summer like I did in August. And you just sweat it out. And finally, I want to talk about the 2014 college CFP format. With the SEC meetings that have been going on this week, it's been a hot topic of conversation. I'd like to give a shout out to Nicole Albach, who has been absolutely just tweeting up a storm with everything that's going on. I mean, because everyone is talking. All head coaches are talking. All ADs are talking. And everyone is just involved in the SEC meetings this year, which seems more than last year, but it's one of those things that's where you really don't know for sure. Things you can think are correct may not be correct, but anyway, so 2014 college playoff. I am wildly against this for a few different reasons. So, as we know right now, the last week of the college season is going to be Thanksgiving weekend. We know that. The SEC championship game is set for Saturday, December 5th. And then you have subsequent scheduling after that. Now, one thing I do want to jump in and mention right now, before we dive too far into this, is that we are slated to get the college football schedule and the college football playoff broadcast schedule on Monday. So I think what I'm going to do next week is I'm going to do a deeper dive than what I'm doing now, but I at least want to sort of air my grievances with respect to the 2014. So, reasons I'm against it. A, it sounds like each conference would have to give up a championship, a conference championship, because that first weekend this year, I'll use as an example, they would need that first week of December to start the on-campus games. So if you would think about that, you would have 4 byes and 10 games, right? So 10 would go down to 24 would go down to 14, and so on. So you would actually need that first weekend of December if we're looking at the schedule for 2026. But we can't give that up. If we give up a conference championship weekend, you might as well just sign a combined media rights deal for all of college football and just dilute the whole goddamn thing. Because that is what sets teams apart. Is, yes, SEC as an example, you're going to have 2 11-2 win teams playing against each other for that championship. And that is how one team is going to get a first round bye in the college football playoffs and how one is not. Or that is how you are going to differentiate between a strength of schedule as well, which absolutely needs to be on the committee's mind about how they are handling the selection committee. And the other piece to this is that it's simply too much too fast. When we think about going back to one of the the first year of the college football playoffs, and that was in 2015. We had a slow burning process with that. Like, we spent, what was it, 8 years at only 4 teams? So everyone got used to that and enjoyed that. ESPN made a buttload of money off of those games. Now we're expanding out to 12, and we've seen the benefits of that. And I compare this piece to the college basketball, expanding it to God, whatever, how many number of teams they are now, 120? I don't think it's that much, but you get my point. Like, more is not always better. It's the product that takes place on the field. If we move to a top 25 in college football right now, SEC and Big Ten call up each other and say, hey, you want to do this? And both of them are just like, yeah, okay, let's move to 24. I'm going to take the final AP 25 from the 2025 season to kind of put this in perspective. Okay? 2024, North Texas, Mean Green. No disrespect, but if we have a number 5 Ohio State Buckeye team playing number 24 North Texas, are we going to get the draw? And are we going to get the eyeballs to a game like that? Number 23, again, no disrespect at all, Navy midshipman is 23. Is that going to be a draw for Navy playing Georgia? who finished 6th. And I'm working on the assumption that the top 4 have buys. I'm just trying to take exactly how it looks now and just expanding it out. So 5 plays 24, 6 plays 23, and so on. 22, Houston versus Texas Tech. Now, that could be a good game because that's an in-state game. But then we move to Michigan, Texas A&M. I mean, and finally we end with, so we got Texas A&M, Michigan, USC, Alabama, Notre Dame, James Madison, Tulane, BYU, Texas Longhorns, Iowa, Sooners, Virginia, and then finally Utah and Vanderbilt. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong with the expansion. Because yes, I would think that ESPN and SEC and the SEC have kind of been lockstep in this recently, ever since we started talking about this more. And their goal is to get to 14, which you got to think is really no different from us sitting right now with 12, right? It's going to add one more piece to the bracket for us to get there. But us going from 12 to 14 would have included it. Again, I'm going based on the final AP 25. So 13 and 14 would have included last year Oklahoma and Utah. And that's pretty good. I mean, those are excellent teams. Now, let me get into the actual top teams that got into it were. Okay? So I'm talking about like the actual CFP rankings to end the season last year. So Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech were the top 4. Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Miami were rounded out the top 10. And then we had Tulane, which was ranked 20th, and JMU that was ranked 24th because of those automatic buys and the conference winners. Now, I think the move to 14 would make sense, but not on automatic conference bids. We don't need to see that. And there is, I don't want to call it truth because I don't know it to be true, but there's a rumor that as long as Notre Dame is ranked inside of the top 25, they get an automatic bid into the college football playoffs, which is absurd. And honestly, it's something I can see myself talking more about in the future. But so let's go based on the fact that we are doing 14 teams. We are doing 4 buys in the first round, and then the other 10 play. And it's just basically purely based on the final rankings of the top 14 teams. So we know Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech would have got a bye in the 2025 season. So we would have had Oregon and Vanderbilt play. Ole Miss, Texas. A&M, BYU. Oklahoma, Notre Dame. And Alabama, Miami. Not bad, right? So after that, you would have done a reseeding, and you would have gotten to the bottom 4 teams playing the 4 teams with the bye, and then so on and so on. And honestly, sitting right now, that makes the most sense. But what makes the most sense isn't always what takes place in college football. And we know this. It was reported by Pete Mel earlier today that the Big 12 football coaches unanimously voted in favor of a 2014 college football playoff format. Yeah. Big 12 is on board. And it's not a shock. Do you know why? Because Big 12 football coaches want to see their schools in the college football playoffs. And that's not happening a whole lot right now. Who was in the college football playoff last year out of the Big 12? There's one answer, and it's Texas Tech. (2024) there is one, and it's Arizona State. So you start to understand why. I don't want to call Big 12 a smaller. I'll call them a financially smaller conference, because they are. But you understand why they want to be expanding this to 24. Because if it would have been 24 last year, they would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in the conference, in the college football playoff. Houston, Arizona, Utah, BYU. Along with Texas Tech, who did make it. So that's honestly the reason they want to do it. And now it was also released today that Greg Sankey, the commissioner for the SEC, said that the SEC is not going to be making a decision on a 2014 college football playoff format, because he believes that is a decision best made in the fall. And he's right. There are so many moving parts right now. We are only 2 seasons into a 12-team playoff, and it is working well. Everyone is making money. Look at how much money that they made. The Big Ten last year specifically. So it's really something that cooler heads need to prevail over this, because I really don't think that we should be jumping to make this 24 team playoff a thing, because I think we are giving up too much as not even just football fans, but how about football diehards? Like, are we not giving up too much? to make this happen. I mean, we're already to the point where we're playing week 0 games, which I love. Don't get me wrong, love those games. But is it worth it at the end of the day if we can't crown an SEC championship or a Big Ten champion? That just doesn't sit well with me. And really, that's where I want to end things off on tonight, is a question for everyone who's listening. What is a better move? More football, which probably means more money, or a greater quality of football? Like, so we're not sitting at home the first week of December watching Texas Tech absolutely obliterate Tulane 44-3 because they happen to be the 5th seed and Tulane was unfortunately the 24th seed that just happened to squeak in and had to make a trip to whoever they had to play. I don't think that that's where we need to be in the long run. And that's just what we'll end up talking about over the next 3 months until a decision is made, because this isn't like the NFL where we know that we are eventually going to get to 18 NFL games per season. But this is that, and they know that, and they're working towards it. But we're now at the point with college where this is going to continue to come up until it is shot down for good, or it's just approved because so many people want to make so much money on this. So I am going to leave it at that. I really want to thank everyone for giving me a listen again. Like you guys know, like I've said before, it's a pleasure to do this. I absolutely love doing this, and I really need the outlet, honestly, for my my football fix. That's for sure. So, episode 1.11. Yeah, we're up to 11. God damn. It was supposed to be SEC spring meetings, but we touched a lot of what happened, all the silliness that has went on with the SEC spring meetings. So anyway, without further ado, really want to thank everyone for giving me a listen again, giving me a follow. You can find me on Twitter at WishboneFB, Instagram at WishboneChad. And like I said before, thank you. Thank you for giving me a listen and giving me a follow. And I am Chad, and this is Wishbone Football. Thank you.